Hey everybody, welcome back to Windmule Acres. This week I picked up a horse-drawn wagon. If you remember from probably 6 months ago on a video I released, I picked up an Owensboro running gear, and after I started looking at that, it was going to need too much work. The guy had removed all of the brakes unbeknownst to me. I should have noticed it when I went to pick it up, but I didn't for some reason. And the cost of putting the brakes back on and then building the box and going through the frame and everything, the running gear like I wanted to do, it was going to cost me more time and energy and effort than I was willing to put into it. So I just sold that running gear to another guy to take on the challenge, and then I bought a new wagon. Not going to be able to use it for another 1.5 years because the girls aren't big enough yet, and but once they get driving, we'll be able to start letting them pull this wagon. And I'm going to show you the forecart that I finished that I never showed you that was finished, so I'll show you that as well. So the wagon is a newer build, but it's built in the old-timey fashion. It's got the jockey box up front, it's got the footrest, the rain tie, the buggy seat. And then this is different. I typically don't see them with the second buggy seat, and this has got extended drop down, so the buggy seat, instead of sitting on top like this one to where you can see over the horse's butts, this one sits down in, so it's a little bit safer. And then this one is even lower. It doesn't have any springs on it, it's just hanging from the hangers. And you just put your smaller children back there that don't have to worry about being jarred around because their bodies can handle it. They're resilient. But it's got the trunk area on the back. So like I said, it's built in 1800s fashion, but it's a newer build. Double box design. And it's got this rail on it. A lot of people skimp on this in the modern wagons today. But that rail goes all the way up through here, all the way through the two boxes, and keeps those boards from chafing on each other. And then they carried it all the way up on the second box, all the way up, so that the seats, the hangers rub on these. If they didn't have that metal, it would, you know, it eventually cut a big old divot in there, and you can see some older wagons where that's happened. But this is a great wagon for 4th of July and Veterans Day and Memorial Day, those type of parades. And the pinstriping on this thing is just crazy. But it's got a draft tongue on it. It's a rigid tongue, so I've got to get a spreader bar up here. I don't have a spreader bar. But it's a draft tongue with the 2-horse hitch. And then you can see all the pinstriping underneath there. And it goes all the way through. It's 42 inches wide, and it's 10.5 feet long. So it's built on traditional specs. It's just a really, really nice wagon. It's a lot of detail work on it. Very patriotic themed. But the pinstriping comes all the way back here with places you can't even see. I mean, he's even got it on top of the axle. I mean, you can't even see that. I mean, it's just everywhere. He spent a lot of time pinstriping it. It's got the traditional ties, traditional, you know, clamps to keep everything square. It's got the bolsters, the rings, all the metal hardware. And I could make this a covered wagon. I could just put the bow keepers in here and then put the bows over. But I'm not going to. I don't know that it would look good as a covered wagon. It's just a good parade wagon. I don't know the complete story on this, but like I said, it's a newer build. It was a doctor that had a wagon collection. And I heard that he lost the lease on the building or something along those lines, and he had to get rid of all the wagons. And an out-of-state buyer just bought everything sight unseen, just based off the internet. But they all had traditional wagon wheels, wooden wagon wheels. So he bought all of those and sent a shipper down and picked them all up. And then this one was sitting out in the shed out back and nobody wanted it. So we got it for a song. It was really dirty and really dusty. And I spent a lot of time yesterday cleaning it up and getting all the dust off of it. And I didn't know all that pinstriping was up underneath the fifth wheel there like that because it was so dirty, but that's a nice wagon. And here's my forecart that last time you saw this, it was just the frame. I had just built this Summit tongue right here, but I didn't have the fenders on, I didn't have the rail on, I didn't have the seat built. None of that was all back installed, so you guys haven't seen this, but it turned out real good. I built this seat out of white oak and then stained it red. I didn't want to paint it red like Pioneer traditionally does because I wanted to see the grain. And then put a slow moving sign on the back. It turned out really well. So I'll be going to Ohio next week and I'll be getting a tongue, the evener for a double team, and then the yoke out here in the front. So I'll be picking that up next week. And then another thing you guys haven't seen is the harnesses that I got. These came from Jared up in South Dakota, the breeder of my girls. And he picked these up, I think in Waverly. And he called me and asked me if I wanted them. And so I picked them up from him. He sent me pictures of them on his mares, which is right here. But they're leather and all stainless, so nothing's gonna rust. The hames are stainless. The girls are gonna look good in those. And then these are the collars. I'm probably not gonna be able to use these collars. The mares are wearing 23 and 24 inch collars, and this is a 25 and 26 inch collar. So I'm probably gonna have to get new collars, but I won't know that for sure until the girls get bigger. But I don't think they're gonna get that big to where they're gonna wear 25 and 26, but that's fine. I can use those for training, desensitizing, and I'll be starting to put the collars on the girls in the tie stalls and then setting their harnesses on them as well so they can get used to all that stuff. Like I said, we're still, 18 months away from driving these girls full time. So these will be great training. I would rather have them too big than too small, because if they're too small, they're gonna outgrow them in just a couple of months. They're not gonna outgrow these, so I can just continue to use them nonstop. And it also came with the tongue to put on the front of the wagon when you take the pole off and take the evener off. You can hook that up and put it behind your vehicle and just tow it down the road. I'll be going to Ohio next week, where I'll be spending a week with them up there. They've got 8 black Percherons, and we're gonna be driving them around. And I'll be picking up, like I said, a few things up there while I'm there. So looking forward to that. That's gonna be some good video content next week. I'm gonna film as much as I can that they'll let me without, violating their customs and courtesies. So I appreciate you watching this week. Remember who you are. Be kind to those around you. Stand up for what you believe in.